My name is Richard Boyd Barrett and I'm a TD for People Before Profit in Dunleary, and I'm part of the Solidarity People Before Profit Parliamentary Group.
I was wondering if you had any ideas on what you would do with climate change at the moment. If you got into government, would you have an immediate action and a long-term action?
If we're going to stop climate change, we know that 80% of the known fossil fuels, never mind new ones, need to stay in the ground. And we think it's really disgraceful that the government have blocked our bill, which would have been a game changer. We think we need free public transport to get people out of their cars and to really invest in more buses, more trains. We think we need a massive programme of home insulation and retrofit and proper grants and state support to do that, which would both reduce people's energy bills and have a huge impact on the amount of CO2 emissions. And the other big policy for us is we want a big afforestation programme. Ireland has the lowest level of forest cover in Europe. We want to bring that up at least to the European average.
About education in Ireland, we're like the second highest for how much it costs, but yet we see that there's not enough funds going into it. Would you suggest something to increase funds, or what is your idea on that?
Particularly, we want to reduce class sizes. Ireland has some of the biggest class sizes in the whole of the Western world, which really is bad for students and teachers. And we want to remove all fees for third level and post-grad education, which is a real barrier for many students to actually go on to higher education. And we want grants very significantly increased because so many students are affected by poverty or having to work all sorts of hours, making it difficult for them to study. So we want to see real investment going in to removing all financial obstacles to people achieving the highest level of education that they want to. An absolute priority for People Before Profit is the housing crisis, because you cannot participate in society if you don't have a secure, affordable roof over your head. It should be a basic thing in the 21st century, and yet there's a whole generation of young people like yourselves who will not even have the same housing opportunities as previous generations. So we're going backwards in this area. We have 10,000 people, a record number of people homeless. 4,000 of those are children. We have about 100,000 families who are on housing waiting lists for 10, 15 and 20 years. And then we have tens and tens of thousands more of young people or working people who at this point cannot afford to pay the rents that are being charged in many parts of the country and have almost no prospect of ever being able to buy their home because house prices have gone out of control. It is a responsibility to provide every citizen in this country and every resident of this country with a secure and affordable roof over their head.
Would you suggest that we should increase funds for mental health for young people as well?
We've argued for a significant increase in funding and a higher proportion of health funding to go into mental health. But you also then have to deal with the underlying problems of, extreme work-related stress that many people have, exam and education-related stress, which I think requires radical reform of the education system. And of course, we need more counsellors and psychologists at all levels of education to assist people if they have, problems, mental health difficulties, suffering from depression. I think, both in schools and universities, those resources are sadly lacking at the moment to support people.
Another question I have is about direct provision. I'm wondering, would you like to reform, abolish, or what would your thoughts be on this?
Yeah, I think we need to get rid of the direct provision system. It really is the 21st century equivalent of the Magdalen and laundries and the industrial schools. It's a form of imprisonment. Refugees and asylum seekers should be allowed to work and contribute to society, which is what they want to do. They don't want to be penned up in these direct provision centres. And of course, I think that direct provision system is part of a more general institutional racist infrastructure in this country, which is, again, very shameful given our own history of mass emigration from this country. There's 24 million Irish people in the Irish diaspora. If Irish people in that diaspora were treated the way asylum seekers were treated in the direct provision system, I think we'd all be screaming from the rooftops.